Welcome to City Talk. I'm Joe Smith. Oregon has always been a leader in recycling, and so it was in 1971. Remember that? The first in the nation bottle bill happened. Other states followed, but not to be outdone, Oregon has upped the ante. This year, a return bottle or can is now worth 10 cents. The evolution of the bottle bill continues. There are now 20 bottle drop redemption centers in the state. The newest is in Beaverton. And here to talk about how the redemption centers work is Jules Bailey. He's the Chief Stewardship Officer and Director of External Relations with the Oregon Beverage Recycling Cooperative. Welcome, Jules.
That's a mouthful.
It is a mouthful.
Thank you for having me here.
Let's go back in history a little bit of how this whole bottle bill in Oregon started. I know it took a cue from Vermont. They kind of dismissed it, but Oregon took up the mantle and I guess created what I guess is now the gold standard.
Yeah, so I think a lot of people today associate the bottle bill with recycling, but really the bottle bill was about litter. And back in the late 60s and early 70s, folks were throwing bottles out the window as they drove to the beach or shaking them off the blanket when they had the picnic. And so Paul Hanneman, who was a legislator at the time, and Richard Chambers, an activist, got together and started thinking about how can we put a deposit on these bottles so folks have an incentive to bring them back, especially for beverages consumed outside the home. And eventually Tom McCall picked up the mantle and we passed the bottle bill.
But, you know, in the beginning, though, it wasn't quite that easy. Not everybody was on board with this. I mean, I think there were a lot of people from the beverage industry who said, no, let's not do this. So it did evolve, and we do have it, and now there are several other states that have followed, but not to the degree that Oregon has.
That's right, and change can always be hard, and I think any legislative process in hindsight gets kind of whitewashed, but it was a real tough fight to get this in place, and Oregon was a real pioneer. Now other states have come on board, but Oregon does it differently, and we really leave it up to private industry to make the system work.
Okay, so in the beginning, we would take our bottles and cans to, I remember crushing them. We don't do that anymore.
We don't do that anymore.
But you would take them to the store and feed them into the machine. You would go to Fred Meyer, Safeway, whatever. You can still do that to a degree, but now that's all changed with the bottle drop centers. How do they work?
That's right. So Bottle Drop came about in 2011. It was a pilot program from the beverage industry that was very successful, and so it's since expanded. You can still return your bottles and cans at your store, and in fact, we at Oregon Beverage Recycling Cooperative, we run trucks to 2,600 retail locations to pick up bottles and cans. So there's a lot of places where you can get them. But now we also offer 20 bottle drop redemption centers, and those are places where it's clean, the machines work. You have our green bag program, which I can talk to you a little bit more about, and it's a full service operation so that you don't necessarily have to go have that experience at the store, and we think it makes it better and more streamlined.
Well, anybody who's been to a grocery store and has gone through the process knows that they don't always work, they're not very clean, and it would appear that the grocery industry, it's not their first priority.
Well, I think that's a fair way of saying it. Their first priority is selling you the kinds of
selling you the stuff,
the things that you want to buy, right? They deal in clean new product, and taking back dirty used product is not really their core business model. And so we decided these bottle drop centers, which the grocery industry is part of and a partner with, were a better way to do things.
Okay, so it really, over time, will it mean that the grocery stores and other retailers will be out of that business?
When a bottle drop center opens, there's a radius around it, and the grocery stores there either don't have to accept containers or it's a very low number that they accept, so it really pushes it to the bottle drop. But the grocery stores are actually starting to partner in some innovative new ways as well. So we just opened our first Bottle Drop Express location at the Fred Meyer on Burnside and in Portland, and that has our green bag account option in the store. So you can actually go and drop the
Okay.
green bag at the store, which a lot of people find really convenient. And maybe for your viewers that aren't familiar with it, you sign up for an account, you get this green sort of garbage bag kind of thing, and it's got a sticker on it with your account number. You just throw all your bottles and cans in there, cinch it up, scan your key fob on the door when you walk by, it opens the door, drop your bag in, walk away.
Okay, and it
we
really
pick
is
it up and count it.
Okay, it really is about convenience, because if
That's right.
somebody has to go through another layer in order to do this, for 10 cents even, it may not be worth it to them.
Yeah, we find a lot of people really like it. One of those bags holds about 70 containers, so that's $7 at 10 cents.
Yeah.
And then you can also get credit in the store through Bottle Drop Plus. If you use it in the store, you get a 20% bonus on top of that. Drop off 2 bags,
All right,
$14.
All right, go
It's,
back a little bit on that. In the store, you're talking about at the drop redemption centers, correct?
Actually, at the grocery store. So if you drop your green bag at a Bottle Drop or at the grocery store, you can either get cash or you can get store credit at participating grocery
Oh,
stores.
that's good.
A lot of
So you
Fred
double
Meyer
your
and
money
Safeway.
in
You
cases.
get 20%, yeah,
Okay.
more. So.
Oh, well, that's a good deal.
Yeah.
I didn't know quite how that was working, because I've been into one of the drop-off centers, the one in Beaverton.
Yeah.
And what I like is the number of machines if you want to feed them yourself.
Yeah.
You know, or if you have a problem, then there's an attendant there who can actually do a hand count if you want.
That's right. Yeah, they can do hand counts. There's the machines, and then there's the green bag account option where you don't even have to go in. Just drop your bag and go.
Okay, so here's the other thing. So when I've gone to the grocery store and I get my Diet Pepsi,
Yeah.
I'm paying the store the 10 cents, okay, for that bottle.
That's right.
But then if I take it to a drop center, they are then having to pay me. So is this a moneymaker in some fashion for the grocery stores?
No, and the way the system works, all the financial transactions of that dime are handled centrally by our cooperative. So we're a cooperative corporation. We're a not-for-profit cooperative of the beverage industry. So our board are the beverage distributors, and the beverage industry said, let's come together and figure out how to make this work. And so all of those deposits get centralized and paid out through our system. So the grocery stores aren't making any money off of it.
Okay, so they in essence, they've got to do some paperwork, though, in
There's
order
a
to feed
transfer
that.
process,
Okay,
yeah.
all right, because I thought, well, this is kind of an interesting way to make a little extra money, and then somebody else pays it out.
Right.
Not bad. So let's talk about expanding.
Yeah.
You know, we've expanded it to some degree with the water bottles. Okay, what's next? I know in your presentation you talk about refillables, and how does that work?
Well, we're really excited about the refillables program. We actually already started the pilot program. So right now, when you drink a beer out of glass bottle and you return it, you redeem it, it gets crushed and it gets melted and turned into new glass, which is good. That's good to recycle it. But even better for one of those glass bottles is to take what Europe or Canada does, wash them, get them nice and clean, return them to the brewery, and then they get refilled and reused. It's way better for the environment.
Okay, I'm glad you brought that up, because that was really the case way back when.
Exactly, we're going back to the future.
Exactly,
Yeah.
and then it was thought, well, this really may be not the cleanest way to go, but have things changed to that degree where now we say, well, yeah, it is okay to recycle the bottles and reuse them and refill them?
The technology is incredible, and that's one reason why in Germany, a glass bottle for a beer gets reused about 45 or 50 times.
Really?
Now, we probably won't get that high, but if we can even use it 5 or 6 or 10 times, that's a great savings for the environment, and the machines that wash them are so good at washing them, and the inspection equipment, all these lasers and cameras to make sure everything's right, we can actually get glass bottles out the back end that are cleaner than new glass.
Really?
Yeah.
But then you have to get it back to the manufacturer or the
brewery.
filling, the brewery or whatever. So it seems like there's another layer then, and you've got transportation involved, and so is that good for the environment? I mean, there's all those things you have to consider in this, don't you?
Absolutely, and Oregon Department of Environmental Quality and others have looked at that life cycle analysis. It's still better than all the energy it takes to melt that glass down, and a lot of the water gets reused. And keep in mind, as I mentioned earlier, we run trucks to 2,600 retail locations around the state.
Wow.
we know how to do transportation and do it efficiently, and it helps us provide this.
All right, so you pick up all the bottles and the cans at all of these stores. Then where does it go? What happens to it?
So when they get picked up at the stores or at the bottle drops, they get crushed and compacted. They go back to one of our plants, and they get baled up and then sent to processing facilities. So for plastic, for your plastic water bottle, that goes to a plant in St. Helens, Oregon, so it stays right in Oregon. It gets washed, it gets turned into flake, and then that becomes, in many cases, the clamshells that you buy your raspberries or your blueberries in. Or if you go to Costco and you buy apples,
Right.
those containers around the apples, that's your old water bottle.
And so then is that recyclable again?
It is, yeah. So plastic degrades the number of times that you recycle it, but it has uses as it goes forward. Aluminum gets densified. That gets shipped to a couple of different plants around the U.S. domestically that gets turned into new aluminum. And then glass goes right up the street from our plant to a facility by the Portland Airport where it gets turned into new glass there. So it all gets done domestically, which is very different than your curbside recycling.
And so there's a real market for this, though? I mean, companies want this material, they want to buy it?
Absolutely.
And is the price of that going up that they're paying the cooperative for?
Well, so the markets for recyclable materials are like any other commodity market. They go up, they go down. It just sort of depends. But consumers demand a recycled product, and so there are companies that want to buy that. And we think that by recycling it all, and when you redeem your bottle or your can, 100% of that gets recycled, as opposed to your curbside where not all of that gets recycled. We still think it's better for people to redeem and get their dime back because you get a better recycling product out of it.
Do you ever think it'll get to the point where you're going to be able to put that green bag outside with, you know, when it's trash day and you've got all those barrels lined up? Do you ever think it's going to come to that point where it can be kind of a one pickup so you don't have to have all those trucks going around?
So we've thought about that. The big challenge with that is one of those bags is worth about $7. You leave that outside, how do you keep somebody from stealing that? So we want to make sure that people are secure and getting their money back. Maybe we'll figure that out someday, but right now we think, gosh, if you have these Bottle Drop Express locations or a bottle drop, you go to the store, you drop off your green bag, you get your credit, you go do your shopping. It's super easy. And then we're debuting an app. You'll be able to check your balance on your app. And already, if you go online, you can donate your balance if you want to any nonprofit in the state of Oregon.
Oh, that's good.
So imagine a day when you go to the store, you fill up your green bag, you throw it in the door, and then with a push of a button, you give it to a homeless shelter, or you put it in your kid's school fund, or you put it in your kid's 529 college savings account.
Great idea.
That really starts to make it valuable for people.
Right. And, you know, going from 5 cents to 10,
Yeah.
it doesn't sound like a lot, but that's a big deal.
It is a big deal. You know, there's
How tough was it to get, you know, to get everybody on board with that?
It was definitely a process down in the legislature. I saw it firsthand.
What were they against?
Well, you know, I think there's always concerns about cost and that sort of thing, but really if you took the nickel that was charged in 1971 and brought it forward to today, it would be over 30 cents with inflation. So we're still far below what that value of the nickel was. And we'd seen redemption rates declining over time. As of last year, we were at about 64% redemption. We'll be much higher than that this year. And the challenge has been that a nickel just isn't worth what it was in 1971. So taking it to 10 cents really keeps that spirit of the bottle bill and modernizes it.
Okay, but it was the fact that the redemption rate was low that you were able to then increase it.
That's right.
To 10 cents. So it has to be what, 80% redemption or less than 80% over 2 years, and then you're in a place where you can up the ante.
That's right. So clearly done your homework. The redemption rate was below 80% for a period of time, and so that triggered it to go up to 10 cents, and we've seen incredible demand since
What is
then.
it like now? It's only been in operation not that long, but I mean, how?
It's busy. I mean, we'll see, but it has been very busy, and apologize for folks who've had to wait in line returning. There's been a lot of demand coming in, and we're expanding facilities rapidly to keep up with it, but the 10 cents has really had an effect. And one little interesting tidbit, in the month of May, our redemption rate was 110%.
I know, you were telling me that, and I thought, that's impossible.
It is impossible in the long run. You
Right.
can't redeem more than is purchased.
Yeah.
It meant that folks had been saving up their nickel cans to return them at a dime. Smart thinking.
So did you lose money? You must have lost money on that.
We lost quite a bit of money on
all right.
that. Yeah.
But
it's good. We want people to engage with the process, and if that's what it takes, we're happy to pay out that extra money.
so you have 20 of these redemption centers around the state right now. How many, when it's all said and done, how many will there be?
We have a vision of 45 of these statewide, and we're building them on a pace of about 5 to 6 a year that are coming open. So we've got more opening this year. That's for the big centers. And then we'll have Bottle Drop Express locations. We're opening 12 of those this year, and we'll be doing about 12 a year. So we expect about 80 or so Bottle Drop Express locations in addition to the 45 Bottle Drops.
Okay, so is Fred Meyer is on board with the Express?
And Safeway as well.
And Safeway as well. All right. And what about their other branded stores? I mean, there's Safeway and Albertsons.
Yep. So we're working with an Albertsons in Ontario on a Bottle Drop Express. We've got a lot of different grocery partners, and my expectation is they'll all be on board eventually. It's been great to see Fred Meyer and Safeway be first movers on this, but my expectation is we'll have them in a lot of locations over time.
So where do you see down the road? I mean, we talk about being able to recycle more than just the soda cans or the soda bottles, or the beer bottles. I think are included in it.
That's right. Yeah.
Okay. What about wine bottles?
So wine bottles weren't covered under the bottle bill because it was originally for containers that were frequently consumed outside the home that you might throw out your car window.
Don't you think wine fits into that category?
It may now.
Yeah.
Maybe back then it didn't.
Yeah.
And I think there's some reasons why wine wasn't included. Part of it too is it's hard to put in those machines. It's a much thicker bottle. But through our refillable program, we actually have already started working with a couple of wineries that folks would recognize in Oregon to start taking back Pinot Noir bottles, getting them washed and getting them reused. And we think we can voluntarily include wine bottles in our refillable program.
Okay, but would they go through your process? And
Yeah,
then
they
go
just
to,
return them at a bottle drop.
So drop some names. Who's interested in doing this?
I don't want to out
And we
anybody
could put a little
yet.
pressure on
I don't want to out anybody yet. We're still under the works, but I think they're well-known, beloved Oregon Pinot Noir brands.
Okay, all right. Let's talk about extending that to the cans that tea comes in and those
right.
kinds of things. Why aren't they included, or will they be included?
This has been a real problem in the bottle bill. Is you've got this mix of things that are in and things that are out, and they often don't make any sense. So my wife comes to me the other day and she says, "All right, you're working for the bottle bill folks.
Get this done."
You answer me this question: why is my vitamin water in, but my Gatorade is out?
Yeah, why?
Same bottle. Why is that? Why is one in and one out? Well, it has to do with, originally it was for soda and beer, and then it got expanded to water, and one's classified as a water and one as an energy drink, and it's all very complicated. Beer is in, cider is out, doesn't make any sense, and we think that confuses the consumer,
Right.
makes it more difficult. So starting January 1st, it's all in.
Okay,
It's
so
all in. So anything that's under 1.5 liters, as long as it's not liquor, wine, or milk, is in.
Okay.
And so your Gatorade's in, your Monster Energy drink is in, your cider's in, all that's in.
all right. So,
Tea.
and are we the only state doing this, or are the others on board with it too? Because I'm thinking, what I'm thinking about is when they make the labels, they have to now change the labels.
It's challenging, and we've already gotten calls from all the beverage manufacturers saying, "Hey, we weren't in this before. Help us understand what the requirements are." So, I mean, you really have to hand it to the industry, the beverage industry. They're stepping up in a big way. They're putting aside some of their competitive differences and working together, and they really make this whole system work, which is what makes Oregon unique. Other states have all sorts of fees, and there's government intervention and various things. In Oregon, it's a privately run system.
So, do you think that other states who are involved will, follow our lead in that way and try to do a little bit more? Is
do.
California on the list?
California, it is. They have the California Redemption System,
Okay.
and they had a bill in the California legislature that would essentially turn the California system into the Oregon system.
Oh, okay.
So we're pretty proud of that. We've been talking with them. Every state does it a little bit differently, but of course, we're Oregonians. We like to think we do it the best.
And so are you finding that in Washington, I don't think Washington's
It does
involved.
not.
So here's the thing. So do you think that people from Washington, we know that they're coming over because of the sales tax. We know that, but that's okay.
Yeah.
But do you think they'll be coming over, filling their car with cans and bottles and taking advantage of using our redemption center?
That does happen, and one of the things that we need to do a better job of communicating is that the Oregon bottle bill is for Oregon purchased beverages. I think people in Washington, they're not doing it maliciously or to try to cheat the system. They just hear, hey, Oregon will pay you 10 cents for these bottles and cans, take them across the border. We had one guy call our company and he says, hey, I've got a pickup truck. I'm full of bottles and cans. I'm driving down from Seattle. Where's the closest bottle drop to the border? And we said, sir, I'm sorry to tell you this, but you're going to have to turn your truck around.
Yeah.
So we have ways at the bottle drops of making sure that those are Oregon bottles and cans coming back. It's one of the reasons why it's a good idea to have these bottle drops. We can do security a little bit better and prevent fraud. And we take that very seriously because it's an Oregon program.
Well, now that you mention that, it's kind of interesting because some stores sell certain products and they will not take the bottle back if they do not sell that product.
They actually do now.
Well, they do, because I've been at a store where if it's Diet Pepsi Cherry and they don't sell that, well, the can comes back at you and the bottle comes back at you. So that's all changed.
That's all changed. So every store that sells beverages should legally take every beverage back.
Good to know.
If they don't for some reason, give us a call.
Okay, all right. So bottom line on all of this, do you expect that you will up the ante down the road, even if you're at 90%, because you want to reach that 100% recycling effort?
100% is great. We probably will
Not
never
practical.
hit 100%. There will always be some leakage in the system, or
Yeah.
you have folks that come from Washington to shop here and they don't pay sales tax and they're buying their beverages, but then they're taking them back up to Washington and curbside recycling them because they don't want to come down. There will always be some leakage in the system. But we are committed to having a system that's convenient, where it's easy to get your bottles and cans back, and where you can interact with it in a 21st century way.
All right. Well, nice to see that it's evolving.
Yeah.
And that we were the first in the nation.
We're excited about it, and we've been really grateful that folks have been willing to come along for the ride as the system has changed.
All right. Jules Bailey, thank you.
Thank you.
We learned a lot about cans today.
it's a fun
All right.
topic.
It is.
Appreciate the time.